The Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, together with the National Planning Authority, has launched guidelines to regulate the establishment and development of fuel stations across the country in a bid to resolve environmental and safety concerns. Nalugo reports.
According to the city planning regulations, fuel stations are supposed to be set up 100 meters from residential or public buildings. However, many of these are in the middle of residential and commercial buildings, which according to authorities is very hazardous. Speaking to journalists at the Government Media Center in Kampala, the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nabakoba, said the growing numbers of fuel stations, especially in the Kampala metropolitan, is increasingly worrying citizens due to the risks posed by these fueling stations.
These raise health, environmental and safety concerns and results into some form of spatial nuisance. Some of the fuel stations are located in congested commercial and residential areas, and to make matters worse, some have established a total disregard of existing laws and also land use framework.
For this reason, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development has launched a set of guidelines to regulate the establishment and development of fuel stations. According to the guidelines, before one sets up a fuel station, they must acquire building permits from the local government, an environmental impact assessment report from NEMA, a petroleum construction facility from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, and failure to abide by the guidelines, a developer will be fined, imprisoned, or both.
We believe that we are good to go, because before we had only even put guidelines without punishment, but we were still guided that no, there is need for punishment, for people to take this matter seriously, because the entire country is concerned about the mushrooming fuel stations in the country, which needed to be guided.
The guidelines, however, come at a time where hundreds of fuel stations are already established in places where they are not supposed to be. However, Lands Minister says these developers will be engaged for a solution.
The Fiscal Planning Board is going to sit with the developers and see how best can their situation be handled. It might be very difficult for us to reverse some of the operational fuel stations, but what I can assure you, the new developers have to follow the regulations in place.
According to the newly launched regulations, a fuel station shall not be located less than 100 meters from a commercial, residential facility, a school, hospital, or any other form of human settlement. Fuel stations should be at least 200 meters apart from each other, and a fuel station shall not be constructed at a road junction, roundabout, intersection, or expressway, among others.